Welcome to the Tech Branch, live and local here on Super Talk 1270. The latest gadgets, online security, websites and apps, social media, and so much more. How can technology help you? Let's find out. It's time for the Tech Branch on Super Talk 1270.
From our studios in beautiful Mandan, North Dakota, along the mighty Missouri River, here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
So we talk a lot about... Try that again. There we go. Hey, we talk a lot about internet security. That's okay. It's Monday.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about internet security, protecting your identity from would-be online thieves, usually in the form of viruses, keyloggers, etc. But today, we're going to focus on another security threat that doesn't get the kind of attention it deserves. So if you have any devices other than computers on the internet, this will pertain to you. In fact, almost everyone listening has something online, but you may not know it. So your router protected, your security cameras, your home thermostat, your garage door opener, or even your refrigerator. So you got to be thinking about all these things. Now's the time to learn about this new security threat and getting in front of it before you have an issue. Later in the show, Miss Metaverse Kate Aquino will be weighing in on this important topic as well. At the big board today, someone who makes a living recording voicemail greetings like Howard Cosell.
Hello again, everyone.
Producer extraordinaire Jim Walsh.
Long day. Well, I'm doing the mornings now.
Yes.
Our sister station down the hall.
Yes.
Cool 98.7.
Exciting. I caught some of you this
with all
morning,
the
too.
classic hits.
I love that radio show.
And we have a segment on the show we do on Monday mornings where we debunk all the misinformation from the previous week's internet.
So you're doing that on Mondays?
I'm thinking we're going to just start doing it every Monday morning. We're
Okay.
going to do our list of the weekly debunking, or debunkage, if you will.
I'll have to send you some things that I run across occasionally, too. That'll be fun
Please
to
do.
follow,
Bob
actually.
Dylan is not dead.
No way!
And Charles Manson and his fiancée are not registered at Bed Bath & Beyond.
I bet that was a popular story last week.
Yeah. And there was some football player, they said, Emmanuel, what's his name, from the NFL. They claimed he was dead. He's not dead.
Unreal.
No.
Yeah, it goes on and on and
I
on.
know.
So do you have anything other than computers that are on the internet, do you think?
iPhone. I have my iPhone.
Okay. So you have devices, okay.
Stuff.
But anything else in your house that you can think of?
I'm trying to think of, to my knowledge, not to my knowledge.
Wrong.
Oh. Well, I guess you put me in my place.
You have internet, correct?
I do.
Okay. So you probably have a router.
Yep.
You probably have a modem, or at least a modem-router combination.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This is the thing, and there was a lot of stories last week about these IP cameras. Have you been following this at all?
I heard about it, but I haven't really followed it that closely.
There's a couple sites, basically based out of Russia, but there are other sites as well that show IP cameras. I mean, in place, in people's homes, in people's rooms, like baby monitors and things like this.
In Soviet Russia, internet logs on to you.
And the reason that this is so important, I think, is that, it's kind of scary, actually, that other people can just log into your camera if you got security.
1984, man.
And check out this stuff.
Yeah.
So, and it started me thinking about, all the other security possibilities that are coming at us. So, because we have the Internet of Things. Right now they figure there's about 5 billion, and that's with a B, devices on the Internet.
Okay.
And by 2020, they expect it to be 20 billion.
Billion
with a B. So another 15 billion devices in the next 5 years.
Wow, that's more than there are people.
So that's 3 times more than what we have now.
Yeah.
And are you thinking about buying 3 more new computers that you'd have laying around the house?
Not really.
Okay.
No.
And I think everybody's the same way. So all these other things are going to be the Internet of Things. So your refrigerator is going to be hooked up to the Internet. Your coffee maker is going to be hooked up. Your thermostat's going to be hooked up to the Internet. And this and same with cameras, your home security system, your garage door opener, all these things. And some of these people that are listening right now have these things in place. And if you did not change the default username and password, and this is what gets everybody, then you're susceptible. So that modem or that router that you have at home, if you plugged it in and then just let the thing do its thing and you just like, oh, I got internet now, and whatever, like most people do.
Which is what most people do.
Most people do. There are default username and passwords that come with all of that stuff, and if you don't change those, they're wide open to everybody. Wide open.
The wild, wild west.
So if you didn't change your router, your username and password on your router, and you're wondering, well, how do people get this stuff? Well, this is what happens is that there are softwares that are out there readily available to you and me. You can just go online and do a search and download this stuff, and it'll spider the internet. So think of spiders just going out and crawling the internet looking for vulnerabilities. So they run across the IP address of your router or the IP address of your camera, okay? And they're like, ooh, I can just type in my, and in that software, it's got the default username and password in there. So all of a sudden they have access to it. They make a record of it, and then they just have it.
Yeah.
And they can access that stuff anytime you want to. So then you think about, all right, so now they have my webcam, or they have my camera that's in the house, and they can see what's going on in my house. But you may need to think a little bit farther than that. Maybe you don't have this stuff in your house, but your neighbor has a webcam. Or no, I shouldn't say a webcam, but an IP cam. Webcams are a little more difficult to access. They have to actually access your computer, but it's possible as well. But a IP camera that's a standalone camera for security reasons, maybe your neighbor has one and is pointing off the front door to your house. So people can monitor your house and your habits. And so you start getting a combination of a camera, and then they're able to access your thermostat. And your thermostat goes down to 60. Let's say during the winter, it goes down to 62 at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then at 4:30, it goes back up to 70 because you're coming back home. And all this stuff is on the internet. So a criminal can look at the stuff and say, hey, Jim, I see you're not home by just looking at your thermostat from 7:30 to 4:30. Oh, and I can verify that because your coffee maker goes off at 6:45, and you open the refrigerator at 5:15 every day. And you put all this information together, and the criminal can say, hey, this guy's never home during the day.
From an IP camera.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how you put the whole story together. So that's how it works.
I don't want the internet looking at me when I pee. Go back to sleep, geez.
Right. So anyway, it's very, very important that we discuss this. And Kate and I, Miss Metaverse and I will be talking about this a little bit later in the program. After the break, we will have the author of Exit of the Ascended. He'll be joining us after the break. So come on back, everybody.
Right now, it's 16.
You're never more than a few minutes from a weather update here on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek at Facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or TheTechRanch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we want to thank all the listeners across the country and around the world that listen to us on the Blueberry Network. We've got to have some blueberries again, Jim, one of these days. The Tech Podcast Network.
I think they're kind of out of season right now.
They might be, yes. We're on iTunes, of course, tuned in, and we have our own app, Radio Pup. So if you ever want to follow us around the country, you can do that very easily. And, of course, we love to have Kickstarter projects featured on the good old Tech Ranch here. And we have the author of Exit of the Ascended, Neil Tyree. Neil, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing fantastic as well. Glad to have you on the show on a cold November day.
Woo!
It's a little chilly out there today.
Ugh.
So where
I'm
you?
feeling sorry for you guys. I'm in southern Arizona, and it's about 72 right now.
You're killing me. You're killing me. Tearing my heart out.
We've been a little below average this year, just a little below.
16 right now, but the wind chill is under the donut, as we say.
Unbelievable. But we survive. It's just how it is. You know when you go outside when it's cold like that, Jim, and you take a deep breath, you know you're alive because everything freezes inside.
Oh, yeah.
You ever have the boogers freeze up inside your nose? Yeah, that's how cold it gets.
Yeah. Anyway,
not so
Neil,
much today, but yeah.
Let's get to your book, Neil. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
All right. Well, I think anybody who follows tech and the implants people are putting in understand that there's come a time when they've put implants in mice and monkeys, and they show that with the use of computers, they can implant memories, and they can make cognitive processes happen quicker. In my mind, it's only a matter of time if they haven't started with people already, which will make divides. I mean, one of the guys I saw on the Discovery Channel, he said it's not going to be if you want the job. It's not going to be if you want the implant. It's going to be if you want the job. Because
Gotcha.
we're at a point now where we can download a lifetime of memories into a mouse.
Yeah.
Why would I hire you without an implant when the guy with an implant, I can give him all of calculus in a 2-minute download?
Sure.
The
But
Matrix.
I think on a human side, it'll come with a high cost. You'll have to have things like equal opportunity because you'll have a ton of people who don't want to make the conversion. And I think that within my lifetime that there will be people that get implants, and there will be a process of it working, not working before it catches on. And I think that I love the human element in books when it comes to tech versus human. And I took the viewpoint of a father who is a software developer, and he comes to the conclusion that he's got to do this because the bills are racking up. And when you have the implants, you can work more than one job, so you can have a bigger paycheck. Unfortunately, though, once you actually start seeing as much as you can when you have these implants, you start to lose your humanity. And he starts to lose touch with his wife, and the world's kind of falling apart in the sense that a lot of the people that don't get the implants are losing their jobs. So there's acts of violence and stuff like that. So I try to make it the perspective of a father who loves his family,
Yeah.
but also wants to see more, and he knows there is more, but understands that there's a cost. And after he gets his implant, he decides he doesn't want it anymore. And that's where a majority of the book comes in.
That's actually very, very interesting, and it actually kind of falls into what we were talking about a little bit ago here, too. Not to take you too much off topic, but...
Oh, go ahead.
But we love to bring people into our conversations a little bit, Neil, so we might keep you on a little bit longer here.
I love to talk.
Great. Yeah, Neil. And by the way, everybody, you can find Neil's book on Kickstarter, correct? Exit of the Ascended. So go check it out over there.
Yes, by all means.
It sounds like a great read, Neil. I'm actually anxious to read it myself now after hearing your description of it. But Jim,
Well, I'd like to give it away for free, but they don't print them for free, you know?
that is very true, isn't it? So, but Jim was just we were talking about security issues with Internet of Things, and Jim over the break here had actually mentioned about like a pacemaker, if that's
Yeah.
actually going to get connected or not. And I had made
It would make sense to have a pacemaker connected to a computer system. I mean, so many medical centers now, they have this comprehensive system to keep track of everybody's health developments.
Yep. And I would have to look into this, but I would have to believe that there are some pacemakers available now that have like a Bluetooth system built into them. So it can talk to your phone and then relay that information to your doctor. So we're kind of starting to get to the realm that you're talking about in your book, Neil. So how do you have you been dealing, or have you seen any issues, in cybernetics or anything as far as security goes? Because
Well, the thing is, I was after I got out, I was in the Army for a while, and after I got out, I was actually frozen in a deployment. I was a scout in the infantry, and my father was stationed at Fort Huachuca, so that's how I ended up working for the military. It was a hot place to live, and I didn't want to see any more snow. And one of my first jobs, I worked on servers for the Army.
okay,
And I have a very, very large understanding of all of the issues that come with cybersecurity. And I don't think people even have a small understanding of how large scale it is and how much fear the government has for the future of that.
And we totally agree. We were just talking about the Internet of Things. Right now there's about 5 billion devices on the internet in the world, and that's supposed to increase to 20 billion by 2020. And most of us are not going to buy additional computers or devices. This is just all the Internet of Things, whether it's IP cameras or your toaster or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just pointing a scenario a little bit ago that how a person, if you don't change the default username and password on this stuff, and who in their right mind, if you didn't know this beforehand, would change that on your toaster or your coffee maker? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because you're going to
Well,
plug it in, get it
Yeah.
online, and that's it. That's
Would it
you're
occur
gonna
to
do.
you? No, you plug it in, you make toast.
It wouldn't. But then you got somebody out there that's got a little spider program going on saying, "Hey, I'm gonna mess with everybody's coffee makers that didn't change their username and password." So all of a sudden,
I'm going to burn everybody's toast.
exactly. So you could do crazy things like that. But the bigger picture is that they can see your habits. You know,
Absolutely.
they can see.
And that's, you know what, I wonder how many people understand that. I mean, I'm not a very big conspiracy theorist, but the thing is, they even track what we buy in the grocery store. Yeah, we get discounts for it, but now they know more specifically who you are.
That's exactly right.
They know how much peanut butter I buy every month.
Yep.
That's right.
And they're getting to that point. You know, if you walk in with your smart device and you have that app on your phone, you know, for that particular store, they even know your habits there. Are you coming in at 5:30 every day after work, or how is this working for you? I mean, they gather all this information now. It's actually very scary.
Well, one thing I don't think most people realize is that when I went to school, I used my GI Bill. I go for computer science and math, and some of these algorithms they use are massive. And based on percentages and stuff like that, I mean, I'm sure they have algorithms run out there for the guy who's a white male of 34 with glasses, who drives a Honda to Safeway and buys these 3 articles at this time of day is 72% more likely to commit this crime. You know what I mean? And that's where I start having fears, is when they start playing with the numbers the individual is lost, and now we're algorithms with a certain output.
You know, you almost described me to a T until the last part there, you know, the Honda 34 with glasses.
The part about knowing math is where you lost me.
Wow. So anyway, see, he's spying on us already down in Arizona up here, Jim. That's crazy.
Right.
Stay out of my pacemaker.
My algorithm on you.
Didn't really realize we had an IP camera in here somewhere. But yeah. Anyway, so let's go. We really appreciate you engaging us in the conversation, Neil. But let's get back to your book a little bit. How do we find it again?
Say that again?
So how do we find your book again?
Go to Kickstarter, and it's called Exit of the Ascended.
Okay.
And the thing is, I've tried to write books before, but I don't know if it was age, attention span, or what. I'd always get about halfway through it, and I'd either get stuck on something that I couldn't figure out, or I'd go to something else, be it work or school or whatever. But with this one, it was such a passion that I think my wife was getting irritated at me, because so many nights in a row for a couple of months, I'd go to bed at 2 a.m, you know, and it just came out, and I loved it. It's like the passion of my life, and I didn't do anything with it until I had a couple dozen friends read it and say, dude, this is really good. Because at first I was nervous, you know, when you make something, you're afraid somebody's going to tell you it's stupid. But after every review I had was good, other than grammar, but I've got the editors working on that right now. They're like, the story's great. I really, really like it. I think it'd be a great movie. And at the time, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, it's actually a great premise, and I think it's actually very timely too, Neil. That's what I like about your book here, is that I mean, we're kind of on that cusp right now of some of this stuff actually happening. So I think it's very timely. Again, everybody, you can find Neil's book at Kickstarter, Exit of the Ascended, author Neil Tyree. So, Neil, really a pleasure having you on the Tech Ranch today.
Oh, I really appreciate it, guys. And when I walk in, because I work at a government building, I'm outside having a phone call. As I walk in and I enjoy the warmth, I'll think about you guys.
You do that. So. Take care, Neil. All right.
Thanks for everything, guys.
You bet. All right. And it's very interesting there, Jim, I think.
Yeah, it's scary stuff to have a pacemaker connected to a computer, and some hacker can get in there and decide to pull your plug.
That is kind of the scary thing, and I think a lot of people are going to have to, really, really, we're getting back to that username and password thing, but, you think about it, you're going to have to be in control of the way people can access your stuff, including your medical devices in the future. I mean, you really, really have to be adamant to make sure you change that default username and password for everything from your pacemaker to your toaster.
Somebody can hack into me and Control-Alt-Delete. Boom, and you're done.
All right, right
and
after the break,
toast.
Miss Metaverse will be joining us for more conversation on this topic. Come on back.
Right now, it's 16.
Get the traffic and weather information you need anytime on Super Talk 1270 and online at supertalk1270.com.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And of course, we're talking about the Internet of Things today and how secure will our things be in the future. Jim and I have been having a lively debate about how Even your pacemaker in the future might be controlled by, or at least connected to the internet, and possibilities of security infringements or whatever. So
Harlan Ellison wrote a story one time about a society where everybody had a pacemaker and it was hooked up to some big central computer. And at some point, the government would decide that your number was up and Control-Alt-Delete, and that was it for you.
You know, and of course, vehicles now, I think starting in 2016, vehicle to vehicle or V2V, the vehicles that you buy will start talking to each other. So, you know, when they will.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Yeah. I'm doing just fine, Jim. How
about this road this morning?
A little icy today.
Yeah.
But anyway, they will be talking to each other, of course. And so that if you hit a deer, you know, a half mile up, that car behind you knows that. But,
oh, Bob, you hit a deer. I'm sorry. Oh, man. You got venison on your chassis there.
See, here we go again. We could have our own comedy duo, the nanobots, like we were talking about last week. Yeah. But, you know, you think about that, and actually the ability for humans to start talking to each other via devices, you know, that we don't even know what's going on there is very, very, you know, I think actually in the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So anyway, on the phone, of course, Miss Kate Aquino, Miss Metaverse. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing fine as well. We did that little bit there just to get you caught up to speed with where we're at for the show today. So.
Yes. I was tuning in. I was listening to you're avoiding hitting deers with your cars in the future.
So, are you? And I know, you know, we talk a lot about connecting, you know, having cybernetics and that type of thing. But how do you feel about that? You know, that these devices that we're starting to put into our bodies being connected.
I think it's only inevitable that it's happening. It's just trying to figure out the right way to do it, and I think that it's a little tough because all the technology is already here, and are we totally sure that it's absolutely safe? Definitely not. I mean, there's always going to be security flaws. I mean, look at just recently, I was watching a program about the iPhones and whether even the flashlight app on our phones is safe or not.
Yeah,
and that was pretty interesting.
and for the most part, they're not. You know, I don't know if obviously you weren't part of that show that day, but we were going over the apps that you shouldn't be downloading. And generally, if there isn't a pay version of something over and above that, you get me off topic now, but that you probably shouldn't be downloading it because they have to make money someplace. And generally, it's either the sale of your information or whatever. I mean, that's where they're making their money if they're giving an app away totally free. And that's where the flashlight apps really are. You know, that one app, I think, has 100 million downloads. And the whole thing is about gathering information about you.
Right. And that's the thing is what we're seeing now is not only that, but I think in the future, we're also seeing a lot of people having to find ways to collect and organize their own data, which is really interesting. And I think that with the Internet of Things, we're going to be having to figure out, you know, how we're already having a problem trying to figure out how we're going to manage our social media, manage our emails. It's actually known as infobesity because we're just so full with information that we have to organize now. So I think with the IoT and everything becoming connected, we're going to have to figure out what are the best ways we can organize all this data and keep it safe and keep it for ourselves and to automate our lives in the best way and safest way possible.
So do you think, you know, one of the things we were talking about is, and I'm sure you've been following this too, you know, a lot of news lately about the IP cameras and how easy it is to actually just watch somebody else's camera from your own laptop. I mean, it's just crazy how easy that is if they haven't protected themselves. And the reason that is that people install this stuff and they don't change the default username and password of these devices. And we can go right down to the router in your house. I'd say 50% easy, and I'd say even higher than that in my own world of where, you know, what I do for, you know, people on a daily basis. But almost everybody that I have done work for, and they never change that stuff. I mean, they just install it and go. And
right.
You know, it's so easy if a person wanted to have access to literally pull up in front of your business or your house and you know, within a couple of tries, probably have total access to everything going on in that business or that house simply because they never changed that username and password. Well, then you take that to your toaster. And, who in their right mind, like I said earlier, would actually change the username and password of their toaster if it was connected to the internet? But you have to do that. Your thermostat, and then you get to your pacemaker. I mean, you have to change you have to change this stuff. People will have that's the first thing you can do to stop this from happening.
Right, and I think what we're going to have is some kind of another third-party app or something that's going to help us try to automatically change these passwords and keep all of our passwords in one place, because it's becoming too much. Having to remember all these different passwords all the time, it's, for maybe more technological types of people, it's easier to remember different kinds of passwords and things like that, especially with all the older people now in the world. I mean, it's a little bit much for us all to try to keep in as our minds slow down a little bit as we get older, And
so, do you have a problem yourself, Kate, keeping up with all the username and passwords?
I have a huge problem keeping up with all the usernames. I must have to reset my password literally at least once a week. I'm not even kidding. And it's not just me. It's everyone I know. We're constantly having to reset our passwords because we don't remember, or B, suddenly it's kind of fishy. You go to sign on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden you realize that your usual username and password combination isn't working for some reason. Now, it's kind of hard to say, did someone actually hack into your LinkedIn and use it for their own purposes and you just can't see why? Or did you just completely forget that you already, changed the username and password yourself? And these are the problems that we have today.
I never really thought about it that way before. Usually I just think that I forgot it and I request the password. Although I will say all of my Twitter accounts got hacked about 3 or 4 months ago. All of them. And I had to go through that whole process of resetting. And that's the thing, is that, you have to prove to Twitter that you are who you are. And the same would be true across the board, They don't trust that, which is fine. I would hate to have a domain name stolen or whatever simply because Jim called and said, hey, that's my domain. And the domain name provider said, okay, Jim, that's your name, or that's your domain. There you go. Here you go. And
it wouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah. So you have to be careful with that kind of stuff too. But you're absolutely right, Kate. I just think that we live in a world. So do you actually use like 1Pass or anything like that to help you remember passwords?
What I've been trying to do is actually just do it the old school way, actually kind of write it down in paper and put it somewhere, because it's getting to that point where I have to actually write it down and keep it somewhere now. And I think that it's probably the best and safest way, because, someone could always hack into your computer and find your passwords, do a keyword search, and just find username, password, and then all the username and passwords you stored in a document on your computer could just come up.
Right.
And I had this problem I was hacked too. I had my YouTube account. I had over 33,000 views about 2 months ago on my YouTube account for my web series, Awesome Future. And because something happened, they said it was spiders or something, all of a sudden all of my YouTube videos were completely taken down for no reason, which is insane to me. It's happening with businesses. I mean, you build a business and all of a sudden all of all of the things you build up, your followers and everything, are completely lost.
Yeah.
And it's a huge issue.
So you and I are actually, we've been victims of this ourselves, and we're probably a little more diligent than most about, using, good passwords, whatever. But I fall into the same trap. I probably type a password 50 or 100 times a day, and it drives me crazy. It just drives me crazy. And I don't remember, because some of them require you to change it every 3 months. Some require you to change it every month. And I just literally have a plethora of 100 different passwords I've used over the past. And but your process is probably the best, because I do the same thing. I write this stuff down and I file it someplace, and I actually have a name on it so that if people were to run across it, they would not know that it's a list of username and passwords in this book. So that's what I do. I don't trust processes, and I don't have anything against these companies like 1Pass, but I just don't trust it, because if somebody could break into my 1Pass account and then they have access to everything that I do.
You got 100 accounts and you've got one password for all of them, and it's your dog's name or something. If somebody could figure it out, then it wouldn't be that hard.
Well, and there are actually programs that will go through it's a dictionary. I forget what it's called, but it'll run every word in the dictionary on your password.
Okay.
And it'll do it in just a few minutes. So that's why it's important to have
that quickly.
just a few minutes. Yeah, they can just boom, 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 and that's why a lot of times some of these companies now will only allow you 3 tries, and then you can't get in anymore for another hour or whatever because they know they have these
I've had
out
that
there.
happen to
Yes,
me. Yeah.
Yes, and that's the reason for it, because if they didn't have that on there, these people who are smart about it would run this dictionary on the passwords, and that's why they require you to put a number and a capital and then a punctuation mark, because when you do that, it does a lot. I mean, the chances of you breaking into that account go from 1 in a million to 1 in 20 billion or whatever it is. But anyway, Kate,
Right. So, yes. Yes. And that's the thing too, is we're seeing a lot of products coming out, these wearable devices like Token. Did you hear of Token? It's the next generation payment device that wants to help you make a safer and smarter, help make you a safer and smarter consumer. Would you wear a bracelet that becomes your wallet?
I don't know the answer to that. Interesting. Are you going to wear one?
Well, we're already seeing it with Apple Pay, and
Right.
I hate to say it, but I actually like the idea. I already use something like that now. I have a Starbucks card, and I put money on it, and I use it a lot of the times. I mean, I use it almost every day when I go to Starbucks, and I have to say it's something that we kind of just trust as blind faith. But
Sure.
I
Well, we'll continue this after the break, Kate. So everybody come on back after the break, and we'll continue talking about Token and other ways to pay. Come on back.
Right now, it's 18 degrees.
Your news leader, weeknights at 6 and 10. Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And everybody in the studio today, of course, Jim Walsh, our producer extraordinaire, and on the phone, Miss Metaverse, Kate Aquino, and we're having a very lively discussion on the Internet of Things. And we left off with a new way to pay for items called Token. So, Kate, take it away.
Yes, so back to the Internet of Things. I think we need to talk about how we're going to be using the Internet of Things in the future. So, Marla, how do you feel that the IoT is going to affect us in our daily routine?
Well, this is what I see. I guess I get into my car, and because I have my phone on me or maybe this bracelet or whatever, that my car will just start automatically. It'll be set to a certain temperature because it knows me. And then if it's my wife that hops in the car, I mean, these things are already possible, but I just see that self-sensing technology when I go home because I get close to my garage. It'll open up by itself. My lights will come on as I wander into a room. My coffee will be made in the morning at the right time. My toast will be perfect every morning with the Mickey Mouse thing in the, burned into the side. Those are the things I see, Kate.
And you're 100% right, Marlo. That's definitely going to be happening right now. And we're already seeing a lot of these little gadgets coming out, and they're everything. I mean, I'm actually writing a blog post today about how you can do the Smart Life Guide, putting together a guide for everyone to read so they can amp up their daily routine with the Internet of Things.
Okay.
And I've been picking out a couple of my favorites here.
So so is your vision a little different than what mine is?
No, I'd say it's the same. We all have our kind of vision of what will help us streamline and automate our own lives. We all have our own daily routines, and we all have our own kind of needs. So I think we all have our own kind of picture of what we're going to be needing. And as technology gets better, of course, there's going to be changes along the way. And a lot of these will become, these technologies will be cheaper and also integrate with each other. So it'll be less gadgets and knickknacks, and everything will probably essentially become one connected system in our homes.
So do you see it kind of coming the same way as like the printer? We had an inkjet printer, and then you had a fax machine, and you had a scanner, and all of a sudden the stuff started to get combined into one. I mean, do you see this happening with the Internet of Things as well, where more and more devices will do more and more things?
Yes, and not only that, but I think that we're heading towards a future where even homes, the way that we build our homes, a lot of people are liking the idea of having these modular homes or prefabricated homes. And I think that we'll start seeing entire homes pre-built with entire connected systems being available in the next 5 years.
So have you seen some of these already? where you grab you come into a business or whatever, and they have a tablet sitting there, and you can adjust the temperature, you can adjust the microphones, you can adjust all this stuff already. Have you seen some of this stuff?
Yes, there's a lot of systems. I've actually been able to try a bunch of these different kinds of systems, and I'd say it's really cool. I mean, the Philips Hue, those light bulbs you put into any of your lights, they can automatically adjust based off your app, and you could set it to when. Actually, a really great example of this would be Chris Dancy, the guy we talked about on a previous show a couple weeks ago about the world's most connected man. And when he walks into his home, he has all this data being collected on him, how he feels, if his blood, if his heart's pumping really fast because he's stressed out, and all this, the monitors that he's wearing is actually picking this up. So when he walks into his house and he's stressed out after a long day, right, his house will actually, maybe the lights will dim to set a better mood, a song will come on, and it plays, it helps calm him down. And this is exactly what our future is going to be. It's everything is going to be algorithms, knowing what we like before we even know we like it, which is pretty interesting. And then also having everything happen in a way that it's just going to help us be able to consume our own data and figure out how we could better ourselves a lot faster than we would normally.
I actually forgot about the lights that you can buy now that you can connect to the internet. I mean, that it seems crazy, and I know a lot of people listening are like, why would you even want to have your lights connected? But there are a lot of advantages to that, are there not?
Absolutely. If you're away, that's kind of like one of the most simple ways of getting that aha, I get it. Because if you're away, right, you're on vacation, you can have your lights turned on and off, and you can have your home running as if there's people home. And I think there's a really great advantage to that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so go ahead.
No, I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that, a lot of clever ways to protect ourselves as well as, defend against those issues that we kind of worry about when it comes to having everything connected to the web.
And I'm actually glad you brought that up, because maybe we should probably end our show on a good note with this stuff, is that there's a lot of security vulnerabilities with these things, and we know that. But there's probably the equal argument stating that we're going to become safer because of that. And you just brought up a very, very big point. I mean, you don't have to have a timer on your lights anymore. If they're all connected to the internet, you can literally make it look like somebody's walking through your house at 9 o'clock at night, and the lights will go on and off as you're walking through. So you can make things happen like your house is being lived in, for example, while you're away, so people don't know your habits, so to speak.
Yes, we'll be able to record and project actual holograms of people walking through your house, of you walking through your house. And like we were saying before, even more back in a couple shows we did, we'll have digital twins. We'll actually have a hologram version of ourselves that actually operate as if we are home in our homes for us. And we'll also be taking care of all of our data, organizing things for us. And it's all going to be a smarter life. It's very interesting. It's definitely something to think about. But yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that there are some concerns, but I don't think we should get paranoid about some of these things. And I think that we should definitely just get excited for a really connected future.
Yeah, and and I know you and I have talked about this before, but when it comes to our vehicles, which is one of the number one reasons that people die in our country is in automobile accidents. I actually think we're on the threshold of where if somebody dies in an automobile accident, it'll actually make big news because it's going to be so rare in the future.
Right. There's over 30,000 deaths in the U.S. each year just because of automobile accidents.
And and hundreds of thousands of disabilities that are created because of accidents as well. I mean, it's a big, big deal. And if we eliminate most of that because of the technologies that we're talking about right here, I mean, that's huge, absolutely huge.
Right. We won't be able to hit the deer because our car will stop before it ever happens.
Yep, because it senses it before you get there and it'll adjust accordingly. I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's a great thing that's coming.
Imagine not having to worry about texting or being drunk or any of those things because you can just get in the car and the car will drive itself.
Right. Or
and they're saying it's going to be the office of the future. Your car will be the office of the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And and just the other side of that, Jim, I don't have to worry about it either. I mean, you get into your car drunk. I as another driver on the road have to worry about you right now.
That's right.
Okay. In the future, might not have to worry about it as much because the cars are just going to be driving for us. So Lots of cool stuff there. So let's get back to the payment system that you were talking about with the bracelet.
Oh, yes. Okay, so Token.
Yes, Token.
It's basically, the goal of it is to have it on your watch. Let's say you don't want to have to, a lot of people are working out, right? And this is something that you could have on your wrist if let's say you're walking from your home, you're walking into town, or you're jogging. And you could just have this little bracelet on your wrist and bring it to town and be able to pay for things instead of having to bring cash or having to bring your phone on you.
Interesting.
And I think that's good, too. It might be good for kids also. If kids don't have a phone or they might have to make an emergency purchase or something, I could see kids being able to wear these type of things. I think that there are theme parks. Doesn't Disney World offer something like this already?
They do, yes. Absolutely they do. So this is just taking that technology and bringing it to the masses, actually.
Right. I think it's a good alternative because a lot of parents, we're not so willing to just give phones out to our kids right now. I mean, there's a lot of good reasons why. So let's say if your kid just has an iPod or something, maybe, I don't know, maybe Apple Pay isn't on it for some reason, or I'm not really sure about that, but something like a wearable like this type of watch might help in a lot of ways that we won't be able to have abilities to pay in other ways. And I think you can link it to your checking, your savings account, your credit cards, digital currencies, so Bitcoin and some other cryptocurrencies. And you can also link it to your PayPal account. And I'm not totally sure, but I think you might be able to also receive payment through it as well. So that would be really interesting, right? If you go for a meeting and maybe have a consultation with the client, you could probably take your consultation fee right there in a spot through your bracelet, which is pretty interesting.
Sure. Yeah, and I see that. I mean, we're almost at that point already with devices like Square, where you can take payments with your credit cards right over your phone now. It doesn't take much to take a look at that and see that can be used right on your watch or what have you.
Exactly, and it's only going to get better from here. And also too, Token. It also has you can use your heartbeat or your thumbprint to be your kind of like your password. So you're saying before that passwords are kind of a pain, and you would also be worried about, do I have to type in a number and remember what my number is in order to make a payment. With this device, you could choose either you type in a number, you could use your thumbprint, or you could also even have it read your heartbeat, which I think is totally interesting. And that's what we're going to be seeing in the future, more connectivity and also better security features to help people prevent these kind of problems in the future.
I've never heard of a heartbeat being used as a biometric before. That's interesting.
It is interesting.
So are they saying that everybody has a unique heartbeat as well, even though you're just done with a jog or a fast walk or something, that there's some rhythm there that they can determine, or what's the deal with that?
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that maybe this could work together. Maybe I have to look more into this one as far as the heartbeat goes. But me personally, I think I'd probably stick to maybe the thumbprint and the keypad.
All right, Kate, another great show. Appreciate it. And again, everybody, Kate and I will be broadcasting live from Vegas at CES, beginning of the year. So come on back next week. Kate, have a great week.